everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are planning everything I'm going to be reading in the month of September. So I've been thinking about doing something a bit different for September than my usual TBR building because last month I wasn't in a slump by any means, but I just wasn't enjoying reading as much as I know that I should have been. So what I'm going to do differently this month is I'm going to just focus on other people's opinions on what I should be reading. Basically what I'm going to be doing is building my TBR around the most top rated, highly rated books on Goodreads. So basically what this means is instead of doing my usual TBR building where I have a few different categories that I always like to pick from, I'm going to be basically going on Goodreads, scrolling down the list of the highest rated books that I have on my TBR, and I'm going to be picking a couple that I'm going to pick up and read on my Kindle, and then I'm also going to be filtering it by physical books that I already own that are the highest rated on Goodreads. I don't know if that's going to make total sense, but you're going to see what I'm going to be doing as we're going to go through this video. It's pretty simple. I'm also going to be picking a couple of books at least from my brand new TBR jar that I made last month, which is very, very fun. So we do have some randomness introduced into the video as well. But for the most part, I'm going to try and build my list just purely on other people's opinions because I feel like it'll be very interesting. Sometimes books on Goodreads have the highest possible rating because they are just beloved by everyone and for good reason. And then sometimes things are incredibly highly rated because of hype or various other reasons, like pure popularity means lots of people have read it, and then it means it's more likely to be rated incredibly highly if it's got a lot of hype around it. So I'm going to be so interested to see what actual books I end up getting for this video, like what we're going to be able to be reading this month. And I'm not just going to be relying on the books that I think I should be reading. I'm going to be doing it from like a popular vote kind of, which is going to be very fun. So I've got my iPad here. I'm going to be going through Goodreads and we can figure out together which books are going to be the most highly rated. I do have a couple of like things that I think that will be coming up, books that I know are incredibly highly rated and that I haven't read yet. I feel like there'll be some classics on there, and there'll definitely be some that are in series. I'm only going to be adding it to the list if I've like read the previous one in the series. Usually for series I only do put things on my TBR if I've read the previous ones in the series, but obviously if it's one that's like not out yet, I'm not going to be reading that. If it's one in a series that I haven't read the previous one, I'm not going to be reading that. So that's going to be really fun. We're on Goodreads now. I'm just waiting for it to load. By the way, if you want to add me on Goodreads, you can. I love having lots of people on there, and that is the first place that I usually rate books. I don't often like write physical reviews of books on there because I like doing it in video format, but you can see first what I've been reading if you go over to my Goodreads. Okay, so this is what we've got. I'm on the page. I'm about to click on want to read, and then I'm going to filter the list by most highly rated. So let's change this angle. Okay, so here we go. This is my Goodreads and this is my want to read. I've got 215 books. So like I said, I'm going to pick a couple from the want to read that are the most highly rated, and I'm also going to click on my physical TBR that's around 65 books and pick a couple from there as well. So let's go on want to read. I don't know how it's going to be filtered by number of pages. Okay, let's change that to average rating and let's see what comes up top. Okay, so this is in the correct order. These are rated 5. That book's not out yet. That book, I haven't read the previous one. That's a Red Rising one. Oh my god, the next one's Manacled. Oh my god. Am I finally gonna read Manacled? If you're not aware of this book, it is a fan fiction. It's a Harry Potter fan fiction. Look at that rating. 4.65 is incredibly high. How long is it? It's like 1,000 pages long. Oh my god. Yeah, it's a Harry Potter fanfiction. I believe this is actually going to be maybe repackaged and published traditionally. We've got a lot of 5-star reads here. Oh my god. Am I going to be reading Manacled this month? Okay, this is what I said though. I do have to read it. I think I'm going to be reading Manacled. Okay, I'm very nervous about that, but okay, Catabasis is not out yet. And then we have A Memory of Light. This is the next Wheel of Time book, and I have read the previous one, so this is also going on the TBR for this month, and I'm very happy about this. Like 4.57 this is rated, and this is the final one in the series. I obviously wanted to read this month anyway, so perfectly happy that this is going on the list. What else do we have? This is not out yet. Oh, I'm surprised at this one actually. This is a recent release. Oh, it's not that recent. It's got so many ratings and it's 4.54. So this book is called James. It's by Percival Everett. I've never read anything by him before. And it is currently nominated for the Booker Prize. Oh my God, look at those ratings. How many 5-star ratings? So this is one, I don't own it, but I can very easily get this on my Kindle and read it as an ebook. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I feel like this will be a good one to read this month. The Booker Prize shortlist is coming out on, I think, the 15th of September. So lots of people are saying that this one might win. So I feel like this is actually a pretty good idea to read this one this month anyway. So there we have James. And then next up we have Lonesome Dove, which is the start of a new series. I don't know much about this book, actually. Also 1,000 pages. Oh my God, okay, I'm not adding 2 that are 1,000 pages long. If I've already decided to do Manacled, I'm not doing this one as well. I don't care what I said. It's got some really good reviews. I have actually no idea what this is about, but I don't think I'm going to be doing it. I think for now, James, A Memory of Light and Manacled, that's enough from the want to read list, because I don't own these books. I do own All My Rage. So let me go to my physical TBR list and see. So I've added 3 from the just want to read list. And then I'm going to add another couple from my physical TBR. So I already know All My Rage is going to be pretty high, but let's see what else is up there. Physical TBR, yeah, All My Rage. So this is also going to be read this month, which is quite exciting. This is by Saboteur. I've been meaning to read this for ages. It's rated really highly at 4.5. This is a young adult contemporary fiction. I believe it's about 2 young people who grew up in Pakistan and then had to leave, or I'm not totally sure, but I've heard amazing things and that is definitely going to be going on the list. Next one is Night Watch. I haven't read the previous one, so I'm not going to be picking up that one. Arcanum Unbound is a collection of Cosmere stories. I've read most of them. I don't think that's going to be added to this month, to the TBR this month though. Next up we have Sorcery and Small Magics, which is a brand new book. I think this is not yet out. This is coming out next month. This might be a very fun one to add. It's obviously very highly rated at the minute, 4.39, but not that many ratings because obviously it's not out yet. But this, I think, is a cozy fantasy and a really slow burn romance. And I do own this physically, so that's quite exciting, and I might add this one too. So we've got so far All My Rage, Sorcery and Small Magics. I'm not doing another Russian classic. I'm sorry, I did one last month. I can't do it this month. A Day of Fallen Night. Maybe I should do that one. Okay, and then going down the list, a lot of them have very similar kind of ratings, but I feel like just picking 2 extras from this list, so I have 5 total, that seems to be enough for a month. Okay, so I kind of hope that made sense as a process. Basically, I've picked a couple that I'm gonna pick up on my e-reader. I'm gonna attempt to do Manacled. I'm probably going to vlog this as a thing. I just feel like it's going to be an entire thing. I've heard so much about this book / fan fiction. People are utterly obsessed with this book and say that it's just literally the best thing they've ever read, and have very, very strong emotional reactions to it. So I am so intrigued. I'm also so incredibly nervous. I haven't read fan fiction in a very, very long time. And even when I did read fan fiction, it was never Harry Potter fan fiction for me. But still, I am excited and nervous, and I think I'm gonna vlog it as an experience just because I think that will be fun. Next up, we have the Wheel of Time book, which I will definitely listen to as an audiobook. That's how I've been listening to those as a series, and I'm gonna get that from my library. And I was already planning on reading that this month, so I'm very happy that it worked out in terms of doing this. And then the next one that I'm gonna pick up is James, which I think is, like I said, it's nominated for the Booker Prize, which I believe are a retelling of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn and the adventures of Tom Sawyer, but from the perspective of the slave Jim, or James, which I think is the story's main character. I have read the adventures of Huckleberry Finn and I did not love it as a book, so I'm kind of interested and intrigued about why this is so incredibly highly rated, and also why so many people are pitching it as going to be the winner of the Booker Prize. So I do think that'll be very good good to pick up this month before the shortlist is announced. So those are the 3 that I don't physically own that I will be getting and reading this month. And then I picked 2 from my physical TBR. So let's go and get them from my shelf. Okay, so first we're looking for All My Rage, which is just here. And I'm really glad that this challenge is going to make me read this book finally, because I've been meaning to read it for so long. If you're interested in the blurb, you can pause here and see what it's about. This is so many people's favorite book, and I have read previously from Sabah Tahir, and I did really like her writing, so I'm excited for this. Let's make our first book on the stack. And the next one that we're looking for is this one, Sorcery and Small Magics, which, like I said, is coming out next month in October. I think like the 15th of October. And this is an ARC, and I do really love the vibes. This is really giving me like September vibes as well. I'm so glad that this book is going to be on my TBR for this month. I will show you properly the blurb if you want to screenshot or stop it there to read it. So yeah, this is going to be published on the 17th of October. And I feel like this is really just giving me autumnal, kind of cozy, fantasy, romance vibes. So this one can also go on this stack. Okay, so that is already 5 books. I do feel like I want to go back to Goodreads and look at some other very highly rated books that maybe are coming out soon, or things that I've been meaning to read anyway, but I'm going to still filter the list by highly rated books and then see what else I can pick out. I'm not going to be picking just the next ones in the list, because I'm not going to be forcing myself to read intense classics or anything else over 1,000 pages. I've already picked the ones that are at the top of the list, and that's enough for me. But I do still want to use this technique to see if there's any other books that I've got lying around that are incredibly highly rated. Okay, so I'm just going back to Goodreads, and I'm going to look just on my want to read and go from the very top. So underneath the ones that we'd already seen, we do have a book that I've currently got on my NetGalley and I think is coming out very soon. So just underneath, so this is where we left off the list, All My Rage. We have a couple that I am just not in the mood to read for various reasons, but we have this one, Tell Me Everything, which is incredibly highly rated, 4.46. This is Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. And this is coming out in September, and it's rated 4.46 so far from early reviews. And I've got this on my NetGalley, so I already need to read it. So I'm adding this to the TBR. This book is actually part of a series, and they also round a writer named Lucy Barton. And I've only read one of the books in this series. I didn't read them in order. I don't know if you're supposed to, but I read O. William, which is part of the same series, and I really enjoyed it. It was quite a short little book, and it has very like quiet and like journal like feel, like it feels like someone's writing in a diary. And they're the types of books that really kind of celebrate the mundane in life, but like the small joys as well. And like they're just kind of following very ordinary people that have like quite complicated issues and feelings in a way. I don't know, they're quite difficult to describe. But this one, Tell Me Everything, is following a new character that I don't think I knew from the previous book that I've read, called Bob Burgess, and it's actually saying that it's a murder mystery. So that's kind of fun and quite different from the one that I was previously reading. So I'm adding Tell Me Everything to my list. I will show you the actual list that I've got. I've been writing this down on Notion. Okay, so that is 6 books already. I think now it's probably time to pick some stuff from the TBR jar. Okay, so before we do that, this is the current list that we've got for September. We have Manacled, Memory of Light, James, All My Rage, Sorcery and Small Magics, and Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. So that's 6 books. I can pick at least 2 from the TBR jar to add to this. I don't know how many books I'm actually going to add to my TBR. What I've been trying to do, or like what I think I will start doing to keep my TBRs a little bit more manageable, is I'm only going to be adding at the absolute maximum the same number of books that I read in the previous month. So for this month, that is, I think, 15 books. So the absolute maximum this TBR is allowed to be is 15 books. I'm obviously not going to try, I'm going to try and keep it below 15, because I feel like the closer it gets, like the more stressful it becomes basically. But we've got 6 currently. Let's do at least 2 pulls from the TBR jar. These are color coded. I did have a rhyme and reason for the color coding, and I've kind of forgotten it, but basically they are genre based. There's non-fiction, there's sci-fi and fantasy, there's classics, and then the green ones, I remember, they are every other kind of genre all mixed in together. So like romance, literary, that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and pick our first choice from this TBR jar. It is quite stuffed full, and I don't want to always like be picking from the bottom, but then I also don't want to be picking from the top. So I'll pick one from the bottom, and one from the top today, but this will be the bottom one first. I cannot see what color this is going to be, but I've got one in my hand. It's green. Oh, there's two, but I'm going to choose the green one. So it's green, so it's a wild card. It could be absolutely anything. Okay, please be a good book. Please don't be too long. Please be something I already am in the mood for. Don't be a classic. I know that, oh, it can't be a classic and it can't be a non-fiction. So I'm pretty happy that it's green. Please be kind of short. It is. Oh, this is fun! The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. I can't read my own writing. This is fun. Okay, I've been meaning to read this and I feel like this is going to be a very fun, cozy book as well. Okay, let me get the book. Okay, this is the book that I have chosen. This looks really cute and really fun. I love this cover. I got this randomly in a charity shop a while ago and just have never picked it up. I don't know if it's a historical fiction or if it's maybe a historical fantasy, but I think it's set in Victorian England. There is this like seemingly prim and proper lady who is actually part of this like criminal society and she's a thief. And I do think that this is also a romance. So I don't know much about this, but I'm very, very excited. I feel like this will be really cute for a nice September read, and I'm very happy that I feel relieved that I didn't pick anything too difficult, and this one is just going to be like a nice cozy read. So that is The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels, and a lovely, lovely cover. Let me know if you've read this one, because I don't actually know much about it. Nice and floppy book, actually. Oh, it does say fantastical historical romance, so maybe a bit of fantasy in there, or maybe just like, or maybe they mean fantastical in terms of like that it's going to be absolutely over the top, which I'm also very in the mood for. Okay, so let's do our second pick. I'm going to be picking just from the top because I dug down and picked from the bottom, although that did do me well. So now maybe I'm going to regret it. But I feel like I need to make it fair and I'll just pick one from the top and it'll probably be more likely to be like a recent acquisition. We're going for this one. Why am I so nervous? It is a recent one. Okay, this, I'm also excited to read this though, and it's not too long. This is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. And also, this is longlisted for the Booker Prize. So this one also might be shortlisted in the next couple of weeks. So that has actually worked out incredibly well because now I can read it and hopefully it will be shortlisted. I'm not sure if it will be because it is a sci-fi story. So let me get it. Okay, so this is the book that I picked out the TBR jar, Orbital. And this is something I recently picked up. It's a sci-fi book. Sorry if you can hear that plane going. We're just gonna have to ignore it and carry on. But this is a sci-fi story and it is revolving around, I think, 6 different people as they are orbiting the Earth, and it's over the course of one day. It's also a very short book, so I'm quite glad as well that this is on the TBR. This is only like 130 pages-ish. I love a sci-fi story. I also love like a literary sci-fi. So I'm actually very, very excited for this. And I feel like I bought this one because I thought that this one out of all of the Booker Prize longlist would be most likely the one that I would enjoy. And I really enjoy this little cover as well. It's very, very sweet. So yeah, I don't know more about this one other than that it's about these 6 people and they're orbiting the Earth. I don't know if they're together or if they're all alone, but I feel like it's going to be like quite a reflective story all about kind of like human connection because they're these people that are like watching the Earth from above. So let's add that to the stack. So these are the only 4 physical books so far that we have for this month. We've got All My Rage, Sorcery and Small Magics, Wisteria Lady Society and Orbital. I'm very excited about all of these. These don't feel too scary and too much like of a challenge, which is exactly the reason why I wanted to do a video like this, to get excited about reading again and see what is like super highly rated and then base my reading off that. So we have 8 books currently, but I do also have 2 book clubs that I'm a part of, so I need to add the 2 book club books that I'm going to be reading for this month. So that will bring us up to 10, and the 2 book clubs are for the Reading Around the World book club, which is the book club that I host over on Fable, and the link is always in the description if you want to join. Every single month we read a different book from a different country, and for the month of September we are doing Ecuador, and the book that we are reading is The Inheritance of Orcadia Divina. This one really gives me magical realism, kind of Encanto vibe, and so I'm really excited to read it for September. I feel like I've got like a theme going on of like magical, slightly cozier books. I did pick this one for a reason for the Reading Around the World book club because we'd read a few books recently that's just been really down and depressing, and so I picked this one intentionally. I actually didn't leave it up to a poll because democracy is dead in our book club currently. I took full control and I just chose this book for Ecuador because I've heard so much good things about this anyway, and also I was just in the mood for something that may be a bit more of an uplifting read, but then again, every time I think something's going to be uplifting it ends up being quite tragic and quite sad. So who knows? If you've read this one, Tell me if it's like devastatingly sad, please, in the comment. And then the next book that I'm also doing for my friend book club is yet another Booker Prize long-listed book. So I'm going to be reading 3 books from the long list this month, which is, it kind of makes sense because I'm doing this based on how books are highly rated. But it's still weird that I've picked out 3 for the Booker long list. So let me roll over here to this pile and grab the book. We have Safekeep. I think I've already talked about this one in a recent haul video that I did. I picked this up recently, and this is the book that we have chosen to do for our friend book club. This is a historical fiction, and it's all about 2 women who are living together in the very rural Dutch countryside in this big old house. And I think at the beginning they don't really get on, but it's kind of both of them existing in this space. It says that it's like quite unnerving, maybe a little bit creepy, but also like, I think there's going to be a romance between the 2 women. I don't know, I'm kind of getting that vibe. So I'm very excited to read this one as well, and that is also going on this stack. So let's have a look at how the Notion list is going. Okay, so this list is getting quite long. We have the best rated on Goodreads portion, 2 from my TBR jar, 2 from my book clubs, and then also I wanted to add these ones that I've read. I have been reading since last month. This one was on my TBR last month that I didn't get to, and then we have The Name of the Rose that I am about 20% through, and then Debt that I'm like a quarter of the way through. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books already. So I think that's probably where we should leave it today. Tell me why I want to be adding more. Like, this is why I get myself into trouble with my TBRs, because I just keep wanting to add more books. But also, I just want to check my NetGalley as well, because I feel like September's a big month for book releases. So I want to double check if there's anything on there that is releasing this month that I desperately do want to get to as it's being released or just before it gets released. By the way, if you're not familiar with NetGalley, it's basically a place where online book reviewers and people that sell books can get early access to ARCs, which is advanced reader copies. Usually it's just digital access and sometimes audio as well. And it's quite important on NetGalley to keep your like ratio of stuff that you've reviewed quite high, because it shows publishers basically that if they actually do give you the book early, that you will review it and read it, and it won't just be sitting there languishing. So I try and keep my review ratio into like 70%, because otherwise it's like very impossible to always keep it up at 80, because sometimes you get accepted for like a bunch of books all at once. So I do want to see what I've got on my list currently on my NetGalley shelf and see what I've got that's coming out in September. Okay, so I'm on NetGalley now. There is 2 books that I need to be reading in September, or that come out in September, and both of them I'm actually very excited for. The first one is A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez, and I've read a couple of books from her before. She has written The Dangers of Smoking in Bed, and this one, A Sunny Place for Shady People, is another short story collection. So I'm very excited about reading this. I was really, really happy when I got approved for it. So I do think I'm going to push myself and I'm going to add this onto the list. I also don't think it'll be that difficult to read because it's a short story collection. I feel like that's kind of a more relaxing thing to read. I don't know, even though I feel like they're going to be very creepy. These are usually very like horror leaning. I read them quite quickly because they're very engaging, and also they're very short stories. So I am going to add this to the TBR. And the other one is by a new author that I'm really, really enjoying. Well, new to me, they've been writing forever. And it is the new book by Olga Tokarczuk. I don't know how you say her second name, I'm so sorry. But I recently read Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, and I absolutely loved it. So I've been so intrigued to pick up another book by this author, and this is going to be her brand new book, and it's called Empyseum. I think that's how you say it. But I'm so intrigued by this book because it's described as a health resort horror novel set in a sanatorium on the eve of World War I, probes into the horrors that lie beneath our most hallowed ideas. I'm so intrigued by this author in general. I really loved the first book that I read by them, so I just really want to read another one. And because this one is coming out this month, I think I am going to put it on my TBR and just push myself and try and read all 15 of the books that I'm now putting on this TBR. I've done it before and I'll do it again. It'll be fine. 15 I said was my maximum, and of course I was going to reach it. I don't know what I was thinking. So let me show you the final list on Notion. Okay, so this is what it's looking like. We have the 6 that I chose based on the Goodreads review, 2 from my TBR, the book club books that I'm doing, and then we have the 3 that I'm carrying over from last month, 2 from NetGalley. So that totals, I think, 15 books. Only a few of them are physical books, and I'm very excited by a lot of them as well. So this is the whole purpose of doing the TBR in this way, and be excited by what I'm reading. So I do think that I've achieved that, and I think that that will really help me get through this list of 15 books. I've also already started a few from last month, so I'm not starting from 15 books from scratch. And also we don't have any, I think, other than Manacle, that are going to be like nearing 1,000 pages. Am I delusional? Maybe. You know what? That's what helps me. My delusions are helpful. So these are the physical books that I'm going to be reading. I don't know what I'm going to start with. I think probably I'm going to start with Bitter Blue, because this has been on my TBR for too long. I think since like May or something, and I'm going to try and just crack through this book because I've heard a lot of people say that this is their favorite from this series. This is the Graceling series, and this is the third book in that series. So I'm actually very excited to read it because Bitter Blue was one of my favorite characters earlier on in the series. But I think that is all from me today. Thank you for coming along with me and doing this process and making my TBR with me. It's very fun to do it with all of you because I can talk my way through my delusions of thinking that I can do all of these books in 1 month, and yet every month I have multiple books that I carry over from a previous TBR. But that's fine, it keeps things exciting. I really want to know how you pick your TBR, and do you ever go on just the maximum like top rated books on Goodreads, or do you just pick your TBR by vibe and by feel? I like doing it this way so that I have quite a long list that I can choose from, and then I can pick based on what I'm in the mood for on the day. But thank you so much for watching this video, and please remember to go and like and subscribe if you haven't already, and go and watch all of my other videos, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!